Well, hello and good afternoon and everything else. We have another new video. I'm trying to do more videos than I was, but we'll see what I can do. This video is on the Bell P39 Airacobra, World War II American fighter plane. Oh. Served in the early war, along with the P40 and the P38. Now, what makes this plane so unique? It is a cool looking plane. It's very aerodynamic. And notice where the exhaust stubs are for the engine. It's a mid-engine plane. And why is it mid-engine? See this? It has a 37mm cannon in the nose called the Madsen gun. It also has two 50 caliber machine guns there and two 30 cal in each wing. This is called the D variant. Speed on this thing, anywhere from 360 to 370, 380 miles an hour, I think. I've tried to look at different sources. And what would determine what makes it faster is how aerodynamic the plane is. And that'll kind of give you an idea. Now, I took it off the stand that it was on so I can give you more detail. There's the pilot figure. Something you rarely get to see him that close up. I don't know who he is. He's an American pilot from the Southwest Pacific around the time of Guadalcanal when they tried to establish air bases. This would have been correct time-wise because if you notice this, there's no red star, which would mean this would be June 1942. It would be after May of 1942. They took that out, and the red star, so it would cause issues in the Pacific where these planes are fighting. This plane was powered by an Allison V1710-85 V12, 1200 horsepower, 3-blade constant speed propeller, and only one single stage, single speed supercharger. No turbocharger, no turbo supercharger. What does a turbocharger give you? It gives you the ability to climb like a bat out of whatever and not have the plane run out of energy as it's trying to climb because the turbocharger is shoving air in through and along with the supercharger that the plane has, allowing it to fly really fast and pick up altitude fast. What happened in this plane, there was a turbocharger. It was a big bulge on this side, and it cut the aerodynamics down. And this plane had to be made to be very maneuverable. Couldn't have it, so they wind tunnel tested because wind tunnel testing in the late 1930s started to become a big thing and felt that now we're going to ditch the turbocharger, but we'll keep the supercharger. It'll be a small single stage back here, one single speed supercharger. Not really good for altitude. In fact, the plane ran out of steam at about 15,000 feet. It has an altitude of, let me look on here. I think like 35,000 feet, but it was very slow at 35,000 feet. This plane is extremely fast at altitudes below 15,000 feet. This version here, like I said, 360 to 378 miles per hour, and I'm going to pull the landing gear down so you can see it. This plane has a lot of unique and very advanced features for a plane at this time. Most planes had tail draggers, where the tail wheel was in the tail. It did not have sophisticated modern tricycle landing gear like you see on all planes today, which the P39 was one of the first planes to have that. It was pretty well armed. 430 calibers, two in each wing, two 50s up top, and the 37mm cannon. The cannon was made to blow bombers out of the sky. It had a slow rate of fire. Sometimes had a tendency to jam, but it was devastating. One shot could like disintegrate a target. And back in this time span, that was something kind of cool to have. So this plane, the whole plane basically was designed around this 37mm cannon. The feed system for the cannon had to be there. It couldn't fire through the cylinder bank of the engine, so what happened is that the cannon was able to function freely here along with all the other ammunition, making this extremely streamlined, putting the engine behind the pilot, kind of making it a little bit heavy that way, so once the ammo was out, it could spin somewhat. They found a way to compensate for that later. And basically, this plane, I mean, it's fast at lower altitudes. It had a problem climbing because it didn't have a turbo supercharger. But by tweaking it and making it more aerodynamic and doing stuff to the engine, you could get more speed out of this plane, which I'll explain in a minute or two. So these planes went to serve with the U.S. Army Air Force, and they served pretty well. And they basically were good at lower altitude. They were good for close support. They were good for chasing fighter planes down there, if that be the chance. And by the time Pearl Harbor came around, there were 600 of these planes built. Um, it was used in the Mediterranean. It was used in Pacific and um, in Russia, basically later on, which I will get to. And this plane, um, believe it or not, had the highest number of Axis planes shot down of any American fighter plane, more than the P-47, more than the P-51. And I'll get to that in a minute or two. But this plane served pretty well in the role that it was meant to do. It's not a dogfighter with a zero fighter because it can't climb. It can dive in energy dive, and in that perspective, it was way faster than the zero, and it could devastate it. But a turning kind of a battle, no. But against German planes in a turning kind of battle, this plane would do very, very well. Let me retract the landing. I'm kind of going easy with this because I want to kind of don't want anything falling apart because they have a tendency when you don't mess with them for a while to get kind of brittle and stuff. But anyway, close that up, and close that up, and close that up. And yes, this is a Kobe. There are two kinds. There's this version here, which is the American one, and then there's a Soviet one, which I'm going to show you next. But I'm having an issue with the landing gear, so excuse me for a second. It likes to pop out at times, which it's doing right now. And I'm going to pop it back in so that does what it's supposed to. There we go. Now it's where it's supposed to be. Very nice. Now see, if you would have had a monogram or a Revol or a Airfix model, you would have busted it and broken it by doing what I did. But you have something like this, a Kobe. Things like are nothing. Just sit there and snap it in place, and there she goes. Like I said, I don't know who this pilot is, but this would have been a very early version of a Pacific Army Air Corps fighter plane. Probably served in New Guinea too, but mostly primarily at Guadalcanal off of Henderson Field, part of the Cactus Air Force. I know they had P-39s, there were Wildcats, eventually P-38 Lightnings, but this plane was there fighting, and it didn't do bad. I mean, it lost a lot of its numbers, but it did take down a lot of Japanese planes. Let me see if I have that stat here. I don't know if I put that in here or not. I did a lot of research, but I didn't want to go overbearing with this. This plane could climb to 15,000 feet in 4 minutes and 30 seconds at 160 miles an hour. So okay, like I said, 15,000 and below. But when the Soviet Union was invaded by Nazi Germany, eventually they would get Lend-Lease equipment from the United States. One of the things that they had, which they loved, which our guys didn't love because it didn't perform at altitude, was the P-39. Once we started giving this as Lend-Lease to the Russians and Soviets, they kind of came over here and suggested the things that would make the plane perform better for them. They did not like having ammo in the wings. What they did was they put these little pods with 50 caliber machine guns in them, very, very aerodynamic. They're under the wing and not on the wing, keeping the 250s and the 37 millimeter. Some tweaking to the engine and a couple other little things here and there. Some playing probably with the stuff on the supercharger could make this plane, which is 360 in the D version, which we had. This is the Q version, 390 mile an hour top speed on this thing. This was an extremely potent plane because most of the air battles on the Eastern Front were fought at 10,000, 12,000 feet. This plane excelled. It was one of the fastest, most maneuverable in that kind of environment and deadliest fighter planes around. And the Russians knew that, So they took as many of these as they could. Simple fact with that, they shot down over 5,000 German planes using the P-39. Like I said, their version of this plane shot down more than the Americans that flew it. And let me see the side, all the kills on that. And this is a personal plane of Alexander Purushkin, one of the greatest Soviet aces. He had 59 victories in World War II. 47 of the 59 were in this plane. This is actually his plane. I'm going to take it off of here. There we go. And American war aid turned to good use and able to do some devastating stuff on the Germans. This plane could take down Focke-Wulf FW-190s, Messerschmitt Bf-109Es, Fs, even the G models, and it could slug it out. And if the Russians use energy attackers coming up and diving down, the other planes are cooked. They tweak the sights on these so they could get better usage. Like I said, a lot of times they only use the 250s in the nose and the 37mm gun, but the Russians knew how to make them. The Soviet pilots, I should say, knew how to make it work. I say Russian because Alexander Purushkin wasn't Russian, and this was his favorite plane, the P-39. And this plane did a lot of good, I mean, for the Soviets fighting and pushing the Germans back west. And this was one of their most treasured fighter planes, Lend-Lease. In fact, Joseph Stalin said, yeah, take as many as you can, take them all, which they basically did, and they used them to great effect. And part of the reason the Luftwaffe was broken on the Eastern Front was this fighter plane in the hands of the Russians, the P-39Q, a warbird of historic proportions. And give you another look at Alexander Purushkin. Now, if you were to get these models, this is a Kobe model. They do have the little pilot's helmet. It's in here. I just have them in here because I'm displaying the pilots that are inside. And then they give you their little military hat, and they can stand next to the plane on the detail thing. And both of these planes came from the corner store. That's my source for all these Kobe models because they're easier to get them from them than it is from Brickmania. The other stores are kind of pricey, and I usually buy them on eBay from the corner store. And what I'm going to do is, next video that I make is for, I just got it in, hang on, the MiG-21. I have not built it yet. I will build it, and I will have a video for it this weekend. Just one word of note, there is no pilot figure with this. It's because of how thin the fuselage is. You'll see when I build it and we go through it. I may do a few videos based with that because that plane was in Vietnam. It was used in the 60s, and there's so many fighter planes that flew against it, the Mirage 3. So I'm going to make several videos besides just the basic one showing the plane. But going back to this, there were 19,500 of these built. Of that 19,500, the P-39s, 4,800, almost 5,000 went to the Soviet Union. When the P-63, its replacement, which had a turbo supercharger and it came out, it was basically built and shipped over to the Soviet Union. They love these planes. And like I said, the altitude that they fought at in that theater, these planes were phenomenally good, and they did a great job for them. Oh, aside from that, I mean, this was probably one of the premier fighters of the Soviet Union, which happened to be an American fighter. And there are a few flyable these days. You can see them on YouTube. And the thing is, I mean, a GM engine in it, so fairly easy to get parts and stuff and get it to fly. But this is an old airframe, so I'm sure, I mean, you'd have to really do some really hard work to restore it. But the ones that are restored look beautiful. If you watch them flying, very beautiful aircraft. Well, that's all I have for this. I tried to make this not too long. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will have another video in a couple of days showing the MiG-21 and giving you a address of the place where I buy these in case you ever want to build one of these and you want to order one and kind of save yourself some money and get a decent amount of service and stuff with it. That's where I buy most of them from. But that'll be in the next video. So hopefully everything's fine, and we will see you again soon.